Cohen, Andrew Weissman, Joyce Vance, and Harry Littman, that the Manhattan grand jury has voted to indict Donald J. Trump.
This is a day that many people, as you know, Nicole, thought might not come based on the past probes. We're hearing breaking news. If Michael can hear me, I guess the question I would throw into the mix is, Michael, what do you think Donald Trump is going to face when he goes through the booking process? And do you think he is prepared for it?
The answer to that, hey, how are you, Ari? Look, I've been on your show at least a couple dozen times talking about this. I always believed that this day was going to come. I also predicted that Alvin Bragg would be the first. All of, again, these talking heads that want to tell you that this case is the weakest of them all. Why are we comparing one versus the other? Accountability isn't supposed to be, whether it's, you think January 6th is more relevant than campaign finance or this, the various different things that they're looking at. I believe that Donald right now is petrified. This is one of his biggest fears, that he would be called out for who and what he truly is. The mugshotting is going to be something that is going to really upset his fragile ego. And at the end of the day, he's going to understand that no one is above the law, something that so many Democrats have actually stated over, the course of many years now.
For those joining us, Michael Cohen, who has been called a key or star witness in this case, is on the line. We'll hear about 6 p.m. Eastern. This is the Beat with Ari Melber. Donald Trump, according to the New York Times, 4 sources, has been indicted under seal by the New York grand jury. Donald Trump's lawyers confirmed they've been notified of this. Michael, again, we're just on this toss, so if you could still hear me, the other question before we let you go that I have is, what do you think now that this indictment exists under seal? What do you think is the strength of the evidence and what the Times reports is a felony indictment that relates, at least in part, to some of the materials and evidence you've provided? What's the strength of the evidence now?
Well, I'm going to stay consistent with my comments when I was, again, with you on your show. The documents speak for themselves, and the documents are not beneficial to Donald Trump. Plain and simple. They are factual. They are a true and accurate accounting of everything that transpired, which again is like one of the reasons it's been so emotionally disheartening when your credibility is constantly under attack and people refuse to finish the sentence. What I did at the direction of, for the benefit of, and in cooperation with Donald J. Trump. And so I ended up being forced to plead guilty. I was charged, I was fined, and I was ultimately sentenced to several of these things that, they're looking at with Donald. What's good for one has to be good for all, because at the end of the day, there's only one system, not two. Everybody's supposed to be treated equally in the eyes of the law.
Yeah. No, and as you remind us, because you've spoken out publicly, you've participated as a cooperating witness here, and you've spoken out here tonight as the news breaks, Michael. This is a question of whether the law will be applied. This is a day, as I mentioned, many people thought might not have come. It certainly in New York came because of your testimony and the materials and information you provided, which is now a part of history. So I want to thank Michael Cohen, who joined my colleague Nicole and helped us kick off this episode of The Beat on a historic day. Nicole Wallace is, I think, still with us. Nicole, this is one of those times, we lived through this. This is one of those times where you say, okay, it may have taken longer than people thought. It may have come about differently than people thought. We follow the facts. We don't always create them. And yet, I'm curious what you think, reflecting on this fact that and NYT first reported it, NBC News has it confirmed, and as I mentioned, Donald Trump's lawyers aren't denying it tonight. Donald Trump, the former president, has been notified that he has been indicted in New York. The next step of the legal process will be his booking like any other human being, like any other person under the rule of law, to go through that and then be, if tried by a jury of his peers. What do you think about how we got to this point?
You know, I have two thoughts. You know, one, with Trump, there's always a threat of his own expression, human carnage. And when you listen to Michael Cohen, this is someone who didn't have sex with Stormy Daniels, whose campaign didn't benefit from silencing her, but he went to jail. This is also a story about, you can't tell a story about Donald Trump and the law without there being a chapter on his own Justice Department. SDNY, under Trump, under Barr, investigated this chapter and these acts and found that, quote, Donald Trump directed and coordinated a hush money scheme. So I am waiting to see what happened to the same evidence that Alvin Bragg marshaled in front of the New York grand jury that was marshaled years before Alvin Bragg ever held this office. So before Republicans run out and call Alvin Bragg political, a Republican-led Justice Department developed the same facts, interviewed the same witnesses, and came to the same conclusion. Now, because it's a state crime, you know this better than me, they're probably looking at the cover-up of those actions of directing and coordinating a hush money scheme. And that's even worse. That extends into the Oval Office, where he was writing hush money payments in installments for Stormy Daniels through Michael Cohen, who was, as Rudy Giuliani told us on Sean Hannity, a, quote, pass-through. So because it's Trump, there are human beings that were viewed as disposable to Trump, people who were once very close advisors. There's always a Barr story or angle. There's oddly always an SDNY thread. There's always an open question for Merrick Garland about what happened to these federal cases.
Yeah, and as you say, and Michael alluded to it earlier, Nicole, there are other allegations. There's other criminal evidence of matters that could be more serious. You know, when people say don't make a federal case out of it, there's a very serious open federal case regarding the insurrection against the United States, including a convicted sedition, and whether the tentacles of that reach back into Donald Trump's White House. As of now, no one that worked for him directly or he has been charged or held accountable for that. But I guess,
But if you and I,
go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, if you and I did all three of these things, right? If you and I silenced a porn star to benefit our presidential campaign, if you and I incited a deadly insurrection, and if you and I took classified documents to Mar-a-Lago and said they're mine because I thought them declassified, we would be criminally exposed in all three jurisdictions, state and federal. It's only in conversations about Donald Trump that people are like, well, let's go with the best one. And frankly, that analysis has shifted too. Until classified documents were found at Pence's home and Biden's library, people thought Mar-a-Lago was the strongest prosecution. So, you know, I'm not a lawyer, you are, but people should follow the facts and treat everybody the same. If you prosecute me, you should prosecute an ex-president.
Right, and I think where we go now is we're in a dividing line. March 30th here is the first day of the rest of Donald Trump's life. In a sense, it may be the first day in the rest of this political era we have been living through, because the seal is broken. It shows he can be charged. He is legally presumed innocent and entitled to all of the rights that you are supposed to get, even rights that he quite publicly as president tried to deny others, because it is the rule of law, and we are trying to have upholding civilized court process, even for people who wouldn't give it to others. Having said that, I think tomorrow and the days ahead are going to be very difficult for him, and other prosecutors don't even have to weigh what, you know, lawyers call it prudential. That just means not legal, the other considerations. No other prosecutor now will ever have to weigh again the, quote, prudential question of the first indictment of a former president, because that's done.
It's been answered. The novelty is gone, which is just amazing in and of itself.